This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Andy Clarke of Scottish Sports today. Andy, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. You?
Very well, thank you. We're in Liverpool. Natasha Jonas, Michaela Mayer. Interesting fight, Andy. What do you expect to see come tomorrow night?
I'm really interested by the very start of the fight because I feel like Jonas is going to look to try and step into the middle of the ring and make a bit of a statement quite early, because she can be a little bit of a slow starter, and I think she'll know that Mayer will bring the heat from the beginning, which with 2-minute rounds you kind of have to. But I feel like Jonas is going to want to try and put it on her a bit right from the beginning, because she is a very solid puncher, and just let her know what she's dealing with and how this is going to be. So I think the early stages will be quite illuminating. But I do think it'll be a really good fight. I don't really see how it could be anything else, because Mayer isn't technically as good as Jonas, but she's good enough. And she's definitely got the minerals from what we've seen of her to just keep going and going and going and going. So, yeah, it shapes up well.
It's an interesting point you made, though, about her starting fast, because when I spoke to her yesterday, I asked her what did she feel like she learned from the Terry Harper and Katie Taylor fights, in particular ones at the top level where she fell just short in, and she said that she's learned that she does need to start quicker, so that coincides with what you were saying.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that you need to start at 100 miles an hour and throw blizzards of punches, but you just need to kind of stamp your authority on it. Just set your feet and let your hands go a little bit, because she does have good timing and she has got good power. And I think the fight I look at that probably bears comparison with this on most in her career is Terry Harper, kind of stylistically, when we look at Harper and Mayer. And I felt like what cost her on that night, although I thought she did do enough to nick it on points, I think maybe what cost her was that she did a lot of work off the ropes, effective work, but that's often not the best look for the judges, because depending on what side of the ring you're on, you might not even really see some of the stuff she's doing. Judges need stuff to be easy to see, and sometimes a round can go somebody's way, particularly over the course of 2 minutes, almost on body language, if not that much lands, or if it's difficult to differentiate between the two in terms of what lands, which it can be. The one who looks like the boss is often the one who gets it, and I think she needs to do that. I think that's what she'll have taken away from that Harper fight more than anything else, because yeah, she got a draw that night, and then that fight against Katie Taylor was really, really close. Nobody talks about that as being any kind of a robbery, because it wasn't, but at the same time, I mean, she could have got that. She was, I think it was 96-95 on at least one of the cards. I think I was doing the card for Sky that night, and I think I had 96-95, although I wasn't really in any doubt at the end as to who I thought had won. But you 2-minute rounds, you cannot have a slow start. You just can't have one.
Just sticking with the theme of Liverpool, last week Callum Smith, son of Liverpool, fell short in his attempt to become a unified light heavyweight champion in his defeat to Beterbiev. Just your reflections on that, please, Andy.
I just thought it was an incredibly impressive performance from Beterbiev. I don't think Callum Smith's got anything to reproach himself for or to feel disappointed in himself for. I'm sure he will, because he's a champion, and you heard the interview he did afterwards, and it's a bitter pill to swallow when you want to be the best and then you realise that there's somebody else out there who actually is just on a different level to you. That's always going to be really, really difficult to take, and that's why I think we will see him again, because I don't think his pride will allow him to retire on that note. It's unusual for a fighter to do that. I think he'll want to get back in there, because he won't be at peace with it, basically, even though Beterbiev is that guy. He's just so good. And I do think one of the reasons he was really good was because he completely respected Callum Smith. I think he absolutely respected the power, and for that reason defensively was sounder this time than he has been in the past. But it was very impressive from him. One thing I was thinking watching it and afterwards was that Anthony Yarde's performance against him ages well, doesn't it, after that? I mean, they're two different people, Yarde and Smith, and Beterbiev will probably look at them differently, and it's not a perfect thing to do to compare performances, but if I was Anthony Yarde, I'd kind of be sitting at home and thinking to myself, okay, well, let's give me a bit more respect for that performance. Well, I think he got plenty of credit for it, but maybe not as much as he deserved at the time.
I mean, again, on that note, and you mentioned you feel like Callum will return. We just saw yesterday that the deal had been agreed for a Queensbury Matchroom show. One of the common themes, one of the common fights being mentioned by people is Anthony Yarde versus Callum Smith. Do you think that would entice Callum back out in Saudi on that 5-fight card?
Yeah, I think it's the kind of thing that would. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to have to be something big. And it would be something like that. Or, whoever Blacksy Aziz, the winner of that. Yarde's been talked about for the winner of that. It's that kind of fight that to get him up for it, because he's done well and he's done really well in his career. But when you think about winning the Super Series and fighting Canelo, he'll have made a lot of money, and he's an intelligent guy, so I'm sure he's looked after it. So I'm assuming he's in a position now where he doesn't really need to box anymore, but I feel like he will want to, because I just don't think he'll be able to go out like that. If he can, then credit to him. Credit to him, because you want everybody to get out while they're still ahead. He's definitely still ahead. The danger is if you continue and you fight Anthony Yarde and he beats you, then there's a big risk attached to boxing for these guys every single time they go in there.
Sticking with the theme of Callum Smith, past opponent of his John Ryder faces Jaime Munguia next weekend. Just get your thoughts on that fight, please, Andy. Will John pull off the upset out in America?
I'd give him a good chance, yeah. I'd give him a good chance. People are making Munguia the favourite, and I think that's mainly based on the fact that over there, at least, he's a bigger name. Although Ryder, off the back of the Canelo fight, I think he won a lot of admirers. But I make that a close fight. I think John's definitely capable of doing it. I would love to see him do it. I've followed his career, covered his career from the early stages, and he's worked tremendously hard. Came very close against Callum Smith, so I was really pleased to see him get that Canelo fight, to earn that Canelo fight and make the money that would have come with it, because he's grafted and grafted and grafted. And I think this is a really good fight for him. I think it should be a really good fight to watch as well.
Just moving away from that one and going back out to the realms of Saudi Arabia, 2 fights on the horizon, 2 big fights. Start off with Fury-Usyk. Who becomes the undisputed king, Andy?
I don't know. I've always picked Fury for that, so I guess I would stick with that, because I just don't think he's someone I could ever bet against with any complete confidence, with any great degree of confidence. But I really don't know. I really don't know. I think it's a very, very close fight, and I think it could be very close on the night. I'm not really sure what we'll get in terms of the style of fight. It could be anything, pretty much. It could be absolutely anything. I can't wait for it, though. This is something we've been waiting for such a long time, isn't it? Such a long time. I've always felt that Fury has got the ability to make the size count, but the performance against Ngannou did make me wonder a bit, because he's been doing this a long time, and things catch up with you at some point. But there's also a very good chance that we'll see the best ever Fury against Usyk, because that will have been a nice reality check for him against Ngannou. So I do feel like anything is possible.
How do you think Anthony Joshua fares against Francis Ngannou?
I think Joshua, having been forewarned by Ngannou's performance against Fury, there won't be an ounce of complacency in him. Fighters will always insist that there won't be, but sometimes subconsciously there can be. But I don't think that'll be the case, and I think he's got the tools to get that job done. And I don't think he'll go in there obsessed with a knockout. It's called knockout chaos. I mean, I love that, but I don't think he'll be obsessed by the knockout. I think he knows that he just has to win. His performance against Wallin was good. He's got those basic fundamentals, and he used them more effectively than he's done for a while. And it's those that he needs against somebody like Ngannou. That's what he needs to do, because he is a better boxer than Francis Ngannou. I don't have any doubt about that. Ngannou's a lot better than we thought he was, but I've no doubt that Joshua is a better boxer. He's just got to stay sharp, stay concentrated, listen to the plan, execute the plan. And I think he's enjoying himself with Ben Davison. That seems to be a really good fit, and I think there's a lot of clarity there for him. So yeah, I expect him to deal with Ngannou.
One final one from me, Andy, and an interesting fight on that undercard is the one between Zhilei Zhang and Joseph Parker. Who has the edge in that fight? Yeah,
I love that one as well. I love that one. It's a difficult fight to call. Parker was terrific against Wilder, and they had a great plan, and they executed it perfectly. And they'll have another one for Zhang. Zhang though has got proper power. But obviously he was in against Wilder, and we know all about his power, but they're very, very different. Zhang is much more economical, kind of more, he's a southpaw, not orthodox, but in terms of his technique, he goes about things in a more orthodox fashion, if that makes sense. It's that two-punch combination a lot of the time, jab, left hand, hook, left hand. And we saw what he did to Joe Joyce. So again, it's one of those jobs where, you switch off for a split second and you could be in trouble, but that's true against anybody in that division. So Parker's the man on the rise, isn't he? Zhang's had a little bit of time out, but yeah, I think that's a 50-50, and you have to applaud Parker for just continuing to take another fight like that.
Right, Andy, I imagine your actual work is about to start very shortly, so I appreciate your time as always. Thanks for speaking to me, and I'll see you tomorrow night.
No problem, cheers.